mirror, get up and respond the right way. And said that a handful of times this year, but I'm not afraid to continue to get up here, put everything that we have and that we have as players, as coaches out there to try to be able to get the result that we want. It's easy for people to try to do that and then not have that same mindset and mentality after you get a setback or a disappointing loss like this. But I trust that we're made of the right stuff. They outplayed us. It doesn't have anything to do with, the history, whatever it was. They outplayed us in the second half. We didn't make enough plays, and there's things that we can all do collectively to be a better part of it. But that's pretty much as plain and simple as it gets, in my opinion. I'm not sure. That's why you wanted to try to be smart getting out of the game, and I'm kicking myself for, not running the football again, but I'm hopeful that he's okay. It looked like it was his ankle when I was out there with Dr. Elatrosh.
What was the difference in terms of maybe a couple of those mental mistakes in the second half on offense that you guys just couldn't, sustain those drives?
I think it was just missing some opportunities. We had a chance to be able to make a couple plays. We didn't make it. They ended up making plays offensively, sustaining possession, and then come away with points in the red area. And then your margin for error gets that much smaller. And then if you give them opportunities to be able to rush the passer, that's tough. And it didn't look good when they did get those chances. But we had our opportunities, and I expect our guys to be able to make some of those plays that we didn't on both sides of the football. But we are in this together. But it'll be a good tape for us to be able to look at, be honest with ourselves. And then there's some where you just say that's part of the game where you force a fumble and it bounces right back to them. Or you pop one up and it ends up being a tip, broken up pass instead of, an interception. And that's a part of the game. But you got to just be, process oriented, look at the things that we can do to try to be solution oriented moving forward and have that right mindset, because this is a disappointing loss, but it's as disappointing as we allow it to be. And we got to be able to move forward the right way. And that's exactly where my mindset is, and I know our players will be. Do I want us to accept losing and accept not playing better football? Absolutely not. I don't want that ever to be misunderstood, but I'm not interested in us getting caught up in the things that are over with, other than let's learn from it and let's move forward the right way. And this is when you're tested, and these adversities provide opportunities. And I'm looking forward, because I'm looking forward to being, the right guy for these guys, and I'm looking forward to them doing the same thing, whether it be coaches or players. And these are the opportunities that really provide a real insight into how people handle tough things or some setbacks. It's easy to do it when things are always good, but how do you handle these types of moments? And you don't want to be in these types of situations, but you want to make sure you respond the right way with what you can control, and I'm very confident we're going to do that.
You mentioned the run game earlier. When you don't have your feature back, it seemed like you actually tried to run the ball more in the second half. When you don't have your feature back, how far does that set you behind?
I don't think it really had anything to do with that. We didn't really create any sort of movement. We didn't handle the movement that they presented. We had some different things that kind of supplemented the run game that allowed us to be able to sustain drives, whether it be screens or some of those perimeter things that we were doing, or even just kind of changing the launch point. But the run game wasn't good enough. But we didn't really try to, and we felt like the approach we took in the first half was kind of in alignment with what was going to give us the best chance, and we weren't able to sustain that in the second half.
Screens actually seemed pretty successful in the first half of the game.
Yep.
How did you kind of get away from that?
No, we called a couple, and we didn't execute like we're capable of. We had a couple of them called, and the margin for error was really small. When they ended up sustaining some possessions and ended up scoring points, you really have to be able to make every sort of play. And there were some third down chances where we caught the right looks, and some things that our guys are capable of executing better, and I expect them to moving forward.
What was the difference between the McCaffrey you saw a few weeks ago with Carolina and what he did today, what you saw?
I thought it was still, a dynamic player in both instances. You could see that he's very comfortable with some of the different things that they were asking of him. I thought Kyle did a great job of being able to utilize him. You could see even in some of the different ways that they activated him in the pass game. It was a great off-schedule touchdown by he and Jimmy that they hooked up on their sideline. And then, he did a great job of being able to read it out, one gap at a time and get the ball where it's supposed to go. And they had good sound schemes, and they did a good job, and he's an excellent football player.
Where did things start to compound for your defense in terms of those points allowed, and also in terms of errors, maybe pressure and lack thereof?
Yeah, there's so many different instances, Jordan, but there was a lot of times where we're supposed to get underneath the sift and close out the C gap, and the ball was rolling back in some of those for some big creases where they're trying to get the illusion of everything going front side, and it's really designed to wind back in that gap that we were jumping out of. And Defensive football, the beauty of it is that every single play has its own, story and narrative. Same thing really with football in general, whether you're talking from offense or defensive perspective. But there was a lot of instances where we didn't do what we were supposed to do, even if it was adding on a movement or some different things. But, make no excuse about it. We got to do better. And that's coaches and players alike. We're in this. We're connected. But you'd have to really, say which specific things, because there was a lot of different instances where, we're not playing the right way on the back end. We're not doing things on the front end. And that was what was reflected in the second half. And we're better than that. I know we are.
Wrap up with Bill. Last one, Bill.
I'll get you Gary after this. No, that isn't the problem, Bill. Really, whether it's a running back or whatever it is, you still have to be able to get a hat on a hat and handle movement up front, no matter who's running the football. And I don't think the run game is exclusively on the running back. It's just like, sometimes the offensive linemen get tagged with sacks. It's an all-11 thing. I believe the run game is. The reason we didn't run the football efficiently wasn't because of our backs, in my opinion. I'll have to go back and look at it. But we are always looking for ways to upgrade the football team, Bill. But we got a lot of things that we got to be able to address, and what that means looking forward, getting into the trade deadline or as we progress, we'll be looking at that over the next couple of days.
Sean, you've said, when people look back on a season, they're not going to remember who was 3-3, who was 3-4, but you have not been 3-4.
Nope.
Ever. So are major changes in order going forward, or do you think it's just...
No, I think what you have to acknowledge is that, this is a different situation, but that doesn't mean you press the panic button. Let's look at the things that are occurring. And we've had a lot of different instances of things that have been different than any of the previous 5 years. What I'm not going to do is sit up here and make excuses. What I'm going to do is try to do the best job I can for this team to try to start having consistency in terms of the way that we're playing on Sundays or whenever we get a chance to be able to kick off. We're 3-4 through 7 games, and I think our record is an indicator of what we've been, and that's inconsistent. We've played well enough in 3 games to win. We haven't in 4 games. We've got to be more consistently offensively. This wasn't in alignment with what we expect defensively. There were some things special teams-wise that had some opportunities to do things at a little bit higher clip, but in a lot of instances, I think you get to be able to look at it and let's go ahead and try to identify the problems and then give the players the solutions, and then they got to be able to go out and execute. And so to say that you want to just have a total change in approach, I'm not saying that, but I'm also saying that this isn't good enough and we all have to do a little bit better. Okay? Thanks, guys.